Okay, so this is my braid down for my multi-part lace closure installation, which is going to kind of give her the semblance of a frontal install. When I put this closure down, it's going to allow her to part it anywhere along this, but it's going to stay more forward with her base braids coming down this way. Now, I'm sure people are probably wondering why I have these two long pigtails on the side. But I do that because, of course, as the closure grows back, nobody wants to walk around looking foolish like that. So I tack this braid down like this. When it grows back, the client can come back in, and what I do is I take the tracks from here, unbraid this braid, rebraid it, and set her closure back forward. So that's the benefit of doing a repositionable sewing, which is what I do. So that's why I isolate these two braids in the front. So when it's time to reposition her closure, she doesn't have to remove the install. She can just reposition the closure and wear it another, 3-4 weeks, month and a half. So I isolate these and then I just stitch it to this braid. Cut that extra bit off and stitch it. If you guys want, I have another detailed tutorial on how to do my braid downs. If you would like to see this one in detail, leave it in the comments and I can do another video on a braid down, because this is not for a frontal. I'm doing a multi-part lace closure installation with the ability to reposition her closure. So this is going to be my mold down process. So if you want, I still love closures. A lot of people are on the frontal bandwagon, but I like closures because I can reposition them. But if you want your closure to look more like a frontal, I do it the same way I do a frontal with a mold down. So I'm using the Got To Be on her edges here, because I'm going to mold it down the same way I would if I were doing a frontal, so that we can get that nice flawless look in the front. I don't wait for that to dry because I want the stocking cap to adhere to that. Sew it down. When I sew it down, I don't use the first braid to sew it down. I sew down on the second braid so that one is isolated when I need to remove it to reposition the closure. This is the Got To Be glued free spray. Alright, so now that I have this down, I sewed it down. Traditionally, I'm not going to cut this off. I'm going to leave it on because we're doing this installation similar to a frontal. So now I have that on. I like to spray the whole thing all the way back. I know usually people spray just in the front, but I hate when it's just white up to here and then it doesn't blend back with the spray. Now that I have the spray on, obviously you guys see that this does not match her complexion, but I prefer to start with a lighter base and blend out to her complexion than a super dark base, because sometimes when the lace is tinted darker with the dark base underneath, it doesn't look right, at least to me personally. Because we don't have anything exactly close, obviously if you want to have a foundation that matches perfectly, but I'm going to go with this base because this is the best base that I have. I prefer powder foundation. If I need it to be a little more powdery, I'll go like this to get it broken up. And then I just start back here and I feather down onto the forehead before I cut it off, to deepen her base, but it's still going to leave a little bit of a lighter pigment underneath there. So I just feather that right down. And obviously they do have these caps in darker colors. If you like the way it looks with the darker one, by all means use the darker one. I just prefer it like this. Remember to feather that down on here. Nice and saturated. Now I'm going to do a little bit of blowing. And I'm using cool air. Don't use hot. Hot actually melts the got-to-be. Use cool. You'll get a better hold. Now the next thing I do, I cut up right to like just behind where the hairline is, because I'm gonna go back in with the got-to-be and smooth that out, because you don't want to leave bumps in the front, which you'll see when I cut it. So there's her hairline. You can see it poking out. I cut to there. And I do the same thing when I do the frontal installation. I do one side. Cut off these little extra hairs, because you do not want to see that sticking up through your closure. And then I go back in with got-to-be again. Smooth it down. And now I'm going to use my blow dryer, and I'm going to use the back of this comb to smooth this down so it's nice and flat over top of her hair. And press that down so it's smooth. I'm using the comb to force it downward. So we're smoothing out her base some. That's coming right down to where her hairline is. But see, now you have a flat base. I'm using some more got-to-be to lay the closure down. You don't have to do this. I like doing it because it helps give me a grip while I'm working on laying the closure. So I just put it right down across the front where it's going to lay at. So I'm laying it, see I have the lace, I'm laying it like right at her hairline. And use one finger like this and then put the rest fingers down right there in the middle like that to lay it. Alright y'all, so that's how I do mine. I'll start down here, I'll come in here right behind the braid. And then bring it back down through that braid. Put some tension on it.
And this is the adjustable braid, or is it?
Yeah, this is the braid here that will come out when the closure grows back, and I'll re-braid that. And now I'm putting that through there, and I'm gonna knock that off, keep it from shifting back. Okay, you can let it go. Push your head back a little bit. Put tension on it. I'm starting down here at the end of the braid. This you could call it like a band method, but I use thread. Right there. And I do this a couple times until I see the amount of tension I want on it. How's that feel on the side? That's good. And I take it in through that braid. Go back up. And I'm gonna make a knot right here where the braid is to try to keep it from sliding back as much. And I'll continue to move back and forth when I'm putting in my closure installs. So on this side, now I'm going to start moving down. When I do my anchor stitches, I usually start with the braid in the middle. And I do my anchor stitches on the actual braid. So here's the braid. I'm going to do my anchor stitch on this braid, and I'll go every other braid. So skip this one, do an anchor stitch on that one. Skip this one, do an anchor stitch on that one. I do my invisible stitch for my anchor stitches. That's where I just go on in like that. If you want to see a tutorial on how to do invisible stitch, leave a comment. I can do that. But I'm also showing this for the clients who are just interested to know how it's done, how this is staying down. This helps to keep it, helps to force the closure forward so it doesn't just slide back so easily. So now I've done that one. I'm going to skip that one and move to this one. That's just so you don't spend 20 years stitching up every braid, because ain't nobody got time for that. So now I've done all my anchor stitches. For me, I like to ask my client where they want their part set. I'm going to show you. So where do you want your part to be set for today? Okay. Where the anchor stitches are, you always want a part on the side, off center, not where the anchor stitches were. So I'm going to part, and then I'm going to cut some of the lace off that I don't want to keep. And then she's going under the dryer. And y'all see, I'm going to be honest with you, I do this a lot. Some closures, no matter how long you leave it in there, it doesn't take the tint as well as other lace. So I'll go in, I'll cut off the extra. Lace that's sticking up, I cut it on off. Okay. So when she does it this way, move the part there. She move the part here. So anywhere along the front hairline, the length of the closure, she can move her part. So now I'm just going to mold her down, and she's going to go into the dryer for like 5 minutes. Laying it down how I want it. Bam. And now I'm putting this down. Tight. Hi.